Okay, good afternoon. I'm Charlotte Meeks and this is Christine Kelly. We are here with the Houston County Extension Office, and today we're going to talk about putting together fairy gardens. We were going to be doing this with y'all in person, but because of COVID-19, we're going to do a video demonstration instead. So fairy gardens can be very simple. Here's some that Christine and I put together earlier today. As you can see, you can use a lot of random containers, whatever you have around the house, or some of these came from dollar stores, and we'll go through some of the decorations we used as well. So the first part is actually going to be picking out your container. As I showed you before, this one came from a dollar store that we've made a little garden out of. This one is actually a saucer that would go under your plant.
Terracotta.
So a terracotta saucer that would go under a terracotta pot. But for this demonstration, if you want to show that, Christine.
Yeah, you start by using a watertight container and then putting gravel in the bottom for drainage. Okay, so we've added gravel for drainage. And because this particular container is kind of high in the center, I just put some gravel in the low spots. And then we're going to put the little fairy house right in the center anyway, so it's not going to interfere with the plants. And I'm just adding enough soil to get up to this rim.
And this is just any type of bagged potting soil that you can get at any garden store.
And I'm just firming it up a little bit so that when I start putting in these succulents, some of these don't have roots yet, that they'll get soil contact. And then this will be the main fairy house.
And this is where your imagination comes in. As you can see up on the board, one thing you want to do, we talked about first, was finding your container. Then to determine your theme and design. Today we're going to do one that's going to be more of a beach theme with succulents, and then another one that's going to be more of a forest theme that's going to have like some violets and little other cuttings. Gather your supplies together. So as you can see, we've kind of pulled everything together: our plant cuttings, our potting soil, our gravel, any other decorations you want to use. You also need some water. We like using a spray bottle, that way you don't knock out any of your rocks and keeps it still. And then also your decor. And the biggest thing is to be creative and have fun. This little fairy house we're using is actually a little candle holder. So, but I thought it looked like a little fairy house. So that's what we're going to start with. So this is going to be our beach theme. And when you get plants, you want plants that have similar lightness with the conditions they like. These, with being succulents, they're more drought tolerant plants. So that's what we're going to be using in this one.
Yeah, succulents like lots of sun, so you could put this in a sunny window. These are just some cuttings.
The first one that went in there was a cutting off of an aloe plant. And we're using just a variety of succulents.
This is a piece of the purslane off the planter out in the front. I'm just making sure it's got good soil contact. There's some little hens and chick. I'm giving myself a nice long stem. It's easier to push down into the soil. And now we're going to add the decorations. Since this is a little seaside fairy garden, put a few seashells.
Maybe add a little fence you'll see at the beach. And a lot of the materials you can find at different hobby stores, you can find at dollar stores, you can find laying around your house.
Seashells you picked up off the beach. And then since this is kind of a beach theme, we're going to use sand as the ground cover to kind of use as a ground cover to stabilize the plants. This is just dry play sand in a hair color bottle. And I'm just filling in around the plants so that the it looks more beachy.
It also offers some support to the plants. And as you're putting them in, we've got these forceps you can use, or if you're real cheap like me, you can just use a popsicle stick. And if you notice, we also, for this little fence, made it out of popsicle sticks.
This is where you get to be creative and put whatever you want in your little fairy garden.
And things like blue marbles can look like water.
Okay. A little paintbrush or a toothbrush comes in handy to knock things off things that you don't. And I'm just going to very lightly spritz this. And I keep my sand handy because this usually settles everything. You'll have to put a little more sand in because sometimes the soil shows through. There.
So this is another one that we started on earlier. So we've already got our soil and our gravel in the bottom. And as you can see, a lot of these are just prefabricated little fairy garden decorations picked up at a dollar store. So we're going to start working on this one. So usually you want to go ahead and set your larger items first. So we'll go ahead, this little pre-made house. Found these little paper butterflies. I'm going to add them in. To this, using a hot glue gun. Got a little violet that we had growing. One of our
African violet.
That we had growing in one of our little terrariums. We'll add it in. And these plants need light, but they also need more moisture than your succulents do. Ground cover.
Yep.
Got some nice ground cover here.
It's a little big. Take a couple of these big leaves off.
Got a nice strawberry begonia. Christine was trimming up for me. I'll push that in there. I'll trim up a little bit more.
There's a little mini hosta.
And the goal of this one's to give it a look like you just stumbled across the woods and found this. So we're wanting to add a good bit of vegetation, and then we can come back in and add some of our fairy items.
Let's plant this.
Yeah.
That's purple-eyed grass. It's actually from the iris family.
And sometimes around your house, a little fairy house, like I said, this one was a prefabricated one, but as you can see with the ones that we did earlier, we actually just made them out of little terracotta pots. Maybe glue a seashell on the top.
These get little purple flowers in the early spring. And if they're happy, they'll flower for you off and on all summer.
Stick our little house back in there.
And once this is watered, that grass will stand up and look real full.
And give it some height.
And we can lay a little piece of driftwood across the back there. Keep him
Give it some support.
pushed in there.
We want to take our little fairy, put her in here. And you don't necessarily have to have fairies. They could be hiding or away from their home. We'll add a little deer over here next to the strawberry begonia. And then I'm going to start making a little gravel path to the house.
And you may want to make a little spot to put your little bistro set. A little patio.
A little fairy patio. Okay, we'll get the little path. Back up my deer. Got a little rabbit and put in here. Little welcome sign. Have a little bistro set. We'll put back here. And has a little light. We'll put it right here. And then with this one, instead of sand, we're going to come in and do some moss. We've got both moss out of our garden, and you can also buy moss. This came from dollar store as well. And that we're just going to use them to fill in these areas. and also offer some support to the plants.
And a ground cover to keep it from drying out too fast.
Found these little logs at the dollar store. Might throw one of them down. And there you have it. So this is our little forestry garden. So fairy gardens are pretty much adding something whimsical to your garden. You can do them in little containers like we've done today. You can add them throughout your landscape. Any type of landscape art or garden art you can add. And then come by and visit our extension office. We're located in Perry. Thank you.